Thank you very much. Next, we'll move to the U.S. Ambassador to Iceland, Ambassador Luis Arreaga. He was nominated by President Barack Obama as ambassador on April 22, 2010, and was confirmed by the Senate in August of 2010, and then sworn in and came to present his credentials to President Grimson just 10 days later in September of 2010. The ambassador is a career member of the Foreign Service with the rank of Minister Counselor. Before his nomination as ambassador to the Republic of Iceland, he led State Department efforts to recruit and hire the largest increase in Foreign Service personnel in U.S. State Department history. He previously served as Deputy Chief of Mission at the U.S. Embassy in Panama, U.S. Consul General in Vancouver, Canada, and as Director of the Executive Secretariat staff at the Department of State in D.C. He was born and raised in Guatemala before immigrating to the United States. He's a graduate of the University of Wisconsin at Milwaukee, where he received a PhD in economics and a master's degree in management. We are so very pleased, and it's my honor to introduce to you Ambassador Luis Arreaga from the United States.
Drew, thank you so much for that kind introduction. Mr. President, distinguished panelists, distinguished participants in this conference, friends all. Before I start, let me offer a special word of thanks to the organizers of this event, the Institute of the North, Orkus Stopnum. Goodney, I thought you'd be proud of my pronunciation of that word. And of course, the Arctic Portal. It is always a pleasure, Eric, to be in this beautiful city of Akureyri. You know that, and it's great to be here, and this time of the year especially is very nice. I don't think I need to convince anyone that the United States, like other Arctic countries, are feeling the impact of the melting of the polar ice. And in fact, the highest levels of the U.S. government have recognized the need to refocus our efforts to respond to the challenges and opportunities posed by these developments. In May of this year, the National Strategy for the Arctic region laid out broad U.S. goals. Our key priorities in the strategy is to strengthen our international partnerships through existing multilateral structures and legal frameworks, but also to pursue new opportunities for cooperation. Underpinning that strategy is the theme of unity of effort, something that I think has been demonstrated by the United States government support for the Arctic Council and by at least two of the agreements that have been signed, the Arctic Search and Rescue that was mentioned and the Marine Oil Pollution Agreement. Now, with respect to oil and gas development, the strategy recognizes that the Arctic region holds sizable oil and gas resources that will continue to provide supplies to meet U.S. energy needs. But it also recognizes that it poses unique challenges for both the extraction and the disaster preparedness to deal with it. So the U.S. strategy, in terms of, is dedicated to ensuring that energy development in the Arctic is environmentally sustainable, takes into account, and this is very important, the interests of indigenous and local communities, and respects open and transparent market principles. Now, from a domestic policy perspective, we do have some coordinating challenges as we have more than 20 federal agencies that have responsibility over the U.S. Arctic. They have responsibility over issues such as resource management, scientific research, homeland security, emergency preparedness and response, maritime and aviation security, support for local communities, and the list goes on. Now, to these 20-plus agencies, we had to add to the mix state agencies, tribal governments, Alaska Native organizations, municipal governments, industrial and commercial stakeholders, as well as conservation organizations. So you can imagine each of these stakeholders brings a very unique perspective to the table. But I think the one thing that we can say safely is that there is a collective interest in supporting a stable economic development, thriving cultures, and sustainable ecosystems in the Arctic. Now, how do these consultative mechanisms work? Well, they try to respect a certain set of basic principles. One, whole-of-government coordination to improve operational certainty. Two, direct and meaningful partnership between stakeholders, and that includes governments. Three, science-based decision-making focusing on ensuring sustainable ecosystems. Four, adaptive approaches, and this has been mentioned already, by ongoing research and monitoring activities. Region-wide planning that spans jurisdictional boundaries, and improve understanding and consideration of the cumulative impacts of human activities in the region. At a much broader level, the Arctic cooperation has assumed a significantly higher profile in the United States in recent years, as evidenced by the participation of Secretary Clinton and Secretary Kerry in the last two ministerial summits in Nuuk and in Kiruna. Now, U.S. policy calls for strong cooperation among Arctic Council countries, particularly that related to economic development, environmental protection, and sustainability, and indigenous people's interests. This is a theme that we keep coming back to. But we also want to ensure that the Arctic Council does not add unnecessary layers of bureaucracy, because the fact is this is a particularly important issue, because increasing levels of human activity in the Arctic will be imposing additional strains on an already challenged infrastructure. So our mandate is to improve the way that governments and stakeholders work together to achieve sustainable development without additional unnecessary layers or organizational overload. And in doing so, our challenge is how to apply the principles of integrated Arctic management to today's decisions and to those that lie ahead in our shared future as Arctic nations. Let me stop there and thank you for your attention. Thank you.